fire them up. That's what we do at the Andrew Gosser Show. We fire them up on 1039 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. No one really cares about Facebook anymore. And we are streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 1039, like, share, and subscribe to the stream. Help us grow the station. Help us build the channels. We'd appreciate that. I'd also appreciate it if you follow me on X. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser, right there on X. And if you want to be part of the show today, 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And we've got all sorts of stuff planned today. But no matter what's on the docket, no matter what we've got planned, one thing remains the same. That is the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show. It is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Yet wisdom is justified by all her works. And ladies and gentlemen, today is day 0. Remember I had that countdown? I was pretty good about giving off the days. But today is day 0. And I do think that, unfortunately, my prediction is true, is that we are having a harder and harder time, especially after talking with Brother Rick yesterday. Great feedback on that show, by the way. Talking about Brother Rick and the Mandela effect. It's happening right in front of our eyes, and we don't even see it. We don't even know it. And I've got a lot to talk about. Yes, we can talk about Iran and Japan and the misspeak of Donald Trump. Everybody has misspeaks. Don't make me replay one of President Trump and then go on a 20-minute tirade of non-repeating Joe Biden gaffes. Is it a misspeak? Yes. Is it embarrassing? Yes. Does it happen to all politicians? Yes. Is President Trump deranged and out of his mind like Joe Biden? No. So stop yourself. Don't worry. We'll get to equal opportunity offending here in just a minute. But the people who I really want to talk to are the moms and dads out there. Whether you're married or single, doing it by yourself. I want to talk to the grandmas and the grandpas out there who are having to be the moms and the dads because moms and dads aren't doing the jobs that they're supposed to do. Want to talk to the aunties and the uncles out there who are raising our kids out there, because we have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, not a situationship, but a situation. Big difference. We got a situation where the mamas and the dads aren't being mamas and dads, and the kids, well, they're out of control. I called some monsters the other day, and boy, there were a few people who were really upset with me calling them monsters, but they are. And I follow this YouTube channel. It's called Teacher Therapy. And you hear about our politicians getting on their soapboxes, ladies and gentlemen. They're getting on their soapboxes talking about how we've got a teacher shortage, we got a teacher crisis, we need to increase the pay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not the pay that's the problem. It's the kids who are going to school and the parents that are the problem. And I've got this quote right here. I got it queued up on YouTube. I might have to dump it real quick if it goes to a commercial, but I think I got it queued up right. Let's go.
I had a 4th grade student who refused to be in the classroom. He would run away constantly. And when we did get him into the school, he would be incredibly destructive. He destroyed my office. He bit me in the stomach and gave me all kinds of bruises.
First of all, if your kid is biting the teacher and giving the teacher bruises, that kid needs to be out of school, and we got to figure out what happened there. That is behavior that is non-acceptable. I'm telling you what, my principal, Clyde Centers, Orchard Street School, Fox River Grove, Illinois, if I would have done some madness like that, he would have been calling my mother, Sandy, and that would have been the end of that. It would have been a long day for Andrew Gosser. But we don't do that now. It's okay to be destructive in the classroom. It's okay to act the fool. No wisdom, foolishness.
We talked to the mom. Mom was like, I have no idea. He never acts like this at home. Sound familiar?
How many times do we hear that from parents of kids? Kids go out and shoot up school, go out and act violently, and parents are like, "I had no idea little Johnny was like that. I had no idea." And then we get people calling saying, "Hey, we need to start holding parents accountable for the actions of their kids." And I'm sitting there thinking the libertarian individual rights, like, no, no, no. But I see the other side's argument on this. Man, I can't imagine being a teacher today.
We have a mass exodus of teachers leaving the profession because of parents and student behavior. Let's break that down a little bit. These kids are addicted to screens. They're addicted. Study after study.
Yes, they are addicted to screens. The Mandela effect is real, ladies and gentlemen. You can talk about whatever you want, but Hollywood is actively involved in this. Look no further than the new movie coming out, The Odyssey, where they've race swapped and woke defied the whole epic. You know, we used to have to read one Homer book in high school at Cary Grove. Plus, we had to do The Great Gatsby. But you either did the Odyssey or the Iliad. And you are watching Western civilization get absolutely destructed in less than 100 years with woke Hollywood. Look at what they did to Star Wars. Look at what they did to the superhero movies. Look at what they did to Superman and Supergirl. They destroyed it. Everything that was good and whole is being mocked, ridiculed, woke defied, race swapped, transgender, gay, bisexual, lesbian. You got to throw it all in there. They've got to destroy everything that made Western civilization. And here's the bad thing about it, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the bad thing about it is these kids can't frickin' read. They can't go read the Odyssey. They can't go read the Iliad. They can't go read the Great Gatsby. You telling me high school students in Jackson, Mississippi are reading Homer? They're reading the Great Gatsby. Oh, it's on the syllabus. Yeah, it's on the syllabus, but are they reading it? Our kids can't think. They're addicted to the screens. They want the 30-second version. I know, I see it. It's terrible. And it's just getting worse. But let's let this teacher continue.
Study shows that kids 3 to 5 that spend more than 2 hours on a screen in a day have significantly more physical aggression.
2 to 5 hours a day. How much time does your kid spend on a screen every day? Mom, dad, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa? And if your kids are getting more time than that, do you have the stones to take away their cellular device and say, "Nope, you're gonna go outside and you're gonna play"? Kids don't know what to do when you take away their cell phone. I've got a 17-year-old who melted down when she forgot hers. I love her dearly, but it's we just gotta be truthful about it. How many of you have turned around because you forgot your cell phone? We're addicted to our screens. We don't know how to think. I talked about it numerous times. Kids in the Kroger not sure what to buy. Ask AI. Terrible. Kids who are on their cell phones don't know how to act appropriately.
Hyperactivity and not following directions or rules or anything like that. We also know that kids who have high amount of screen time also cannot regulate their emotions. The schools cannot.
Before she gets into what the schools cannot control, think about this. When someone's acting the fool, do we try to break it up or do we immediately put it on our tic tac right away? Do we immediately run to X? Look, this is a teacher who's giving you straight facts. And our teachers, our supervisors, our principals are in trouble. And I know I talk about this once a month or so, and I will continue to talk about it once a month or so, because throwing money at this is not gonna help the situation. This isn't a money problem, this is a wisdom problem. This is this is a character problem. This is a moral problem. And Hollywood is at the root one of the roots on this. That's the problem.
Fix this. This is a parent child issue. What are we doing about it? Kids are 2 years behind, and they also have not had any social etiquette or social construct around them to function in. I thought
You know, that's so true. You sit there and I look at some of these kids and the way they mouth off to their parents, I'm like, "You're gonna put up with that?" Did Gen X do that poor of a job to millennials? Did we traumatize the millennials that much that they no longer wanna discipline their kids? You talk to my sons, they'll let you know I laid down the law. I didn't have a lot of laws, but when it came time to laying it down, hey, that's what it was. I had 3 rules. No bodily sounds in the car. Nothing would get me we'd be driving from Florida to Virginia or Florida to Oklahoma, and Andrew and Austin be in the back seat sitting there making noises. That happened 1 time. Number 2, put your dishes in the dishwasher. Nothing irritated me more than them sitting there loading up the sink and not putting their dishes in the dishwasher. They learned that at an early age. And number 3, rule 3, Article 134, when dad tells you to do something, you do it. 3 simple rules. You do that, you stay out of trouble. Imagine that. Kids today don't have those rules at all. You tell them no, and they look at you like you're crazy. And these kids are gonna be coming into power in another few years. There are some moronic ideas out there to lower the voting age to 16, but we're gonna talk about it.
this was bad 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, we are not ready for this.
And then it goes into the next teacher. We are not ready for this because it's being thrown at us politically, educationally, entertainment-wise, but all those are minor. We have completely lost touch with the teaching of wisdom and the books that gave us our civilization wisdom. We don't wanna talk about that. We don't wanna talk about that, but we will talk about that on the Andrew Gosser Show. We will talk about that on 103.9 WYAB. We are gonna take our next commercial break, and we will be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Brother Rick texted in saying that only 54% of Americans can read above the 6th grade level. You got to wonder why that is. Could it be that maybe your kid can't read? Maybe your kid's got a vision problem? Well, that's where our man Bruce Bennett comes in to gear right there at Gear Optical, located in Pearl, Mississippi. They've got a back to school special, $99 eyeglasses. You got to check them out. They've got a functioning website, not one of these websites that just sits there and looks like it's made back in HTML code back in the day. You can go on and reach out to them at eyegearoptical.com, eyegearoptical.com. Appreciate you, Bruce. Really do. Phone number, by the way, 601-203-2945. If you want to go the old school route. We appreciate you supporting the show. Now I'm at a dilemma here. Because I can go one of two ways on this. I can go the political route or the spiritual route. Which route do I choose? The fleshy side of me wants to get all political and just go full West Ham United on that rear end. And just smash it all to bits and rip it up in a way that I know that I probably shouldn't. That's what I want to do. But I want to go to the spiritual route. The singing pickleball preacher on TikTok came out and he had this video that went viral. But it comes back to wisdom and teaching our kids and getting involved. This has everything to do with the violence in Jackson and the violence, not just in our community here locally in Mississippi, but in every a community across the United States of America. We've ripped God out and we've ripped out the way that we teach our kids. We spare them the rod. Wisdom is glorified in all our works. But listen to this. Tell me if you don't agree with this, ladies and gentlemen. I really want to know. If you can get arrested for hunting and fishing without a license, but you can enter this country and remain in this country illegally, you got a country run by idiots. Do you agree or do you disagree? Here we go. More wisdom. If you have to get your parents' permission to go on a field trip and get an aspirin in school, but you don't have to get their permission to get an abortion, you've got a country run by idiots. Do you agree or do you disagree? I mean, this is some hard-hitting stuff right here for those on the left. Don't worry, it's going to get to us on the right. If you must show identification to board an airplane and cash a check and check out a library book, well, we kind of blew that whole fallacy up in the last segment. Kids under the age of 14 aren't going to libraries, but there we go. But you don't have to show identification to vote in our elections. You got a nation run by idiots. If the government wants to prevent what they take from or if the government wants to prevent and they want to take away our guns and turn around and send F-16 fighter jets to the Ukraine, take away our guns and give ammunition to the Ukraine, you have a country run by idiots and warmongers. If your government believes that the best way to eradicate trillions of dollars in debt and spend more trillions of dollars in debt, you've got a country run by idiots. Notice there's no partisanship there. I would respectfully disagree with the pastor, pickleball preacher, Mr. Jeremy Bollinger 8 at TikTok. Give him a follow. He's worth it. I don't think that we've got a country run by idiots. I think we've got a country ungoverned by the godly. Let me explain. If you need a state license, tags, and must follow bag limits to hunt or fish, but one can cross the border illegally and receive benefits with no questions asked, you've got a country run by the ungodly. I would add to that, quick segue here. I've had this story sitting on my stuff for a long time. SpaceX President Gwen Shotwell announces she's going to donate SpaceX stock to Trump accounts, joining the Dell family. That's awesome. I don't know what SpaceX stock is. When I checked it yesterday, it was 154. It's going up, it's going down. It's going to go down below 150 before it starts really ramping up, just like Tesla did. Some people will get in early just because they want to have it for the ride. Some people will wait and buy on the dips. But this is just awesome. It is giving a piece of American capitalism to every U.S. citizen born in the United States. This is great. This is coming from CNBC. SpaceX President Gwen Shotwell announced she would donate to the Trumpet Accounts program on Monday, joining a growing list of companies and billionaires pledging support to the investment accounts for American children under the age of 18. I'm going to click on this and see who the list of billionaires are. Bank of New York Mellon, BlackRock, Charles Schwab, Charter Communications, Chime Financial, Pop-Up Ad, Chipotle Mexican Grill, Comcast, Intel, JP Morgan Chase, Micron Technology, Robinhood, and SoFi, among others, said that they don't match the federal $1,000 contribution for their own employees' children. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and other countries are contributing to the wealth building, and we should do that. We should do that. But that doesn't get us away from a country of the ungodly. That means people who are here illegally and they have kids here illegally, they now get the Trump account. They get that money. It's not right. It's not even idiotic. It's not even moronic. It's ungodly. If game wardens patrol lakes and woods to enforce fishing rules, but cities declare themselves sanctuaries and ignore federal immigration law, you have a country of the ungodly. If a citizen gets fined or fined thousands for one unlicensed deer, but illegal immigrants get free plane tickets and hotel rooms, courtesy of the taxpayers, you've got a country of the ungodly. If farmers pay for water use permits on their own land, but illegal immigrants receive government-funded housing and health care, you've got a country of the ungodly. If kids get citations for trapping without a permit, but foreign gangs operate openly across the border, you've got a country of the ungodly. I'm just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. We need to lock down. We need to focus on this with a combat discipline focus. This pastor has really tapped into something here. It is the complete lack of common sense in our media, in our politics, quite frankly, behind the pulpit. If your preacher says it's okay to be trans and promotes homosexuality, they might be ungodly. Well, then there's no might about it. Doesn't mean that I hate you. Just means I disagree with you and I'm willing to call you out on it. The wounds of a friend are dear. The kisses of the enemy are evil. And this is just on the hunting and fishing. We're going to take a commercial break. But when we get back, we're going to talk about school permissions. We're going to talk about school permissions. Teachers are fleeing. Administrators are secretly fleeing. Some of them are six-figure salaries, and they're saying, nope, not worth it to hang out with little Jimmy, little Sally. Nope, we can't. We just do not want it. As my son would say, no want it. Not only are our parents not doing the job, but our social structure that got us to where we are, that made this American country so great, is being completely sidelined and transformed, figured, and erased by the powers that be. That's just my opinion here on the Andrew Gosser Show. We're going to take our next break. You're listening to the 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Phone number 601-879-0002. We're going to get back into this list of you might be ungodly, you might be an idiot, you might be a moron list. But it was brought up in the chat, and I was prepared to speak about it, so let's do it. Let's talk about Mitch McConnell. Let's talk about Mitch McConnell and his speech with his talking to with Scott Jennings of CNN before he went on his podcast. I'm not sure I believe it. I think that I can sit there and go and do 11 Labs AI right now and make a complete digital copy of my voice and make it sound like me, give me the Parkinson's stutters like I have, make it sound just exactly the same like me. And Scott Jennings didn't call Mitch. Mitch called Scott. And this is just me as a husband, but if my wife is in the hospital that she coded, I'm not running off to, well, I wouldn't run to China. What would be the American equivalent of America? Really wouldn't. I wouldn't leave the country. Let's just put it like that. When my wife is in the hospital, and I certainly wouldn't run off to a foreign adversary to commence with them. I'm also not a former secretary under the Bush administration. I'm also not a senator. I also try to follow the word. But that's my thoughts on Mitch McConnell. I honestly think that if you can't pass a cognitive test, that you shouldn't be in office. And I'll say that about Biden. I'll say that about Mitch McConnell. I'll say that about any congressman or senator or president. I mean, why have the 25th Amendment if you're not going to use it? It's because we're not being run by a bunch of godly men. We're being run by a bunch of idiots. And the Americans are so distracted with their screen time. You know what would be a great exercise? I know nobody will do it. Well, some of you would, but go and see how much screen time you have every day. And I'm not talking about screen time where you've got a podcast playing in the background. I'm talking about where you're sitting there actually scrolling on TikTok, Insta, wasting your life away on Facebook. Not doing, because I do have screen time. I have to say that I do peruse X. When someone sends me a video on TikTok, I do use it. But I'm talking about for entertainment purposes. How much screen time do you have? I think I've got about an hour, hour and a half. I consider my entertainment screen time following the World Cup, following soccer, Arsenal. But entertainment purposes, nope. I'm not following down that road of Hollywood and what they're doing to Homer and the Odyssey. That's not for me. I'm not going to be following this craziness that is American politics right now. World politics. Do you know that the UK, I got this story. Where is it? I got to find it. The UK is about to impose tyrannical North Korea, Chinese, Soviet style media ban on YouTube. The UK government is running a public consultation called Watch This Space, a new strategic direction for the UK media. The proposals include, well, it's not the proposals, it's the propaganda, includes mandatory changes to how content is discovered on YouTube. This could directly affect audiences away from your channel. As a UK creator, this directly impacts your future. The proposed new rules include a mandatory prominence regime. Gee, who's prominent? Kim Jong-un? President Xi Jinping? Vladimir Putin? The proposed new rules include a mandatory prominence regime. This could require digital platforms like YouTube to prioritize and give up a privileged position to traditional broadcasters like the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Sky News. Go ahead, man. You're on the air.
So there's also another law that's being proposed over in the UK
Yep.
where if you type a message out, you don't even have to send. You just type it out on your phone, whether it be on one of the social medias or just in text, and then you decide, never mind, I'm gonna delete it. It still gets sent in to this logging place, and you can be arrested for just typing it out, not sending it, but just typing it out. That's a new rule that they got proposed in the UK.
You should see the stuff that's going on in the UK and in Ireland, where the thought police are literally coming to people's doors for posts that they make on Facebook, because unfortunately that's all they got over there, and they're being arrested and detained and hauled in like the Nazis used to do to the Jews.
Well, they interviewed the guys, some of the main pushers of this, and they said this could have implications in the U.S. as well and other Western countries. I guess they'll just have to get over it, is basically what they said.
Yeah,
like they're saying that they could, basically fly over here and get us for breaking their laws over there. And you know what? Come on. That's all I can say. Come on.
I don't think that they want to do that. I really don't. But
I kind of hope they do.
You know what's really sad about this, Rick, is that that's me fleshing out in like, yep, I want that fight. And it gets back to the spiritual warfare that we're under right now. And it's one of those things where I can point it out over and over again. And you can point it out over and over again. It's like the Mandela effect, dude. They're completely rewriting the First Amendment and what it really means. They're really getting rid of, they don't have free speech in the UK, which is why they can try to do these things. But elections don't even mean things anymore. Did you see how that one guy resigned the other day from the UK Parliament and he hasn't even been seated yet?
I didn't say that, but I do know this. Do you remember last election cycle? Dead guy got elected.
I do. It's
because and it brings back to what Rush used to say. It's low information voters. Well, then it brings me to the 54% of Americans can't read above a sixth grade level. If you can't read, then how are you getting your information? You're getting it from pundits, and then you got the Smith Mundak, where the news media can propagandize Americans. So you're getting propagandized. You can't read, and you have a low attention span. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yep. Listen to this. You want to know what a low information voter gets you? Let me show you. Standing ovation. Where do you think that's from?
Well, probably Netanyahu coming over here to our Congress.
Kind of close. This is coming from Graham Plattner for Senate. And the Democrats just last week giving him a standing ovation. This is a guy who's a fascist, a declared fascist, Nazi tattoos, sexual abuser, abuses women. And the Democrats are saying, oh, this is the guy we want. They gave him a standing ovation last week. We all knew what he was. But this is how low information we actually are now, man.
Well, they also gave a standing ovation to a true Nazi, 5 years ago? So it was like one of the last remaining SS soldiers. They gave a standing ovation to him in Canada. So I'm not surprised at all.
It's not the right that's doing it. They'll say it's the right, but it's not the right. It's the left. And it
doesn't matter. If 54% can't read and they're not educated, they're not going out and finding the information that me and you look for.
Nope.
So what do you have? Maybe a fourth of the country is awake and educated. And I'm not saying I'm highly educated. I'm just saying I'm more awake than a lot of people.
It's getting to a point to where we can have things like Mitch McConnell's situation in the Senate happening. And
so you know why they're not both the right and the left are being quiet about Mitch McConnell, right?
Nope.
That's a $1 million vote. And so if they keep them quiet until all, then there can't be a special election where Thomas Massey could probably get in. So if they keep him quiet until the fourth, then whoever his little minions are under him can get bought off, and he can vote either way on so many other bills until the next election.
Yep. And brother, that is a theory that's out there, and you're not the only one who's told me that. I've had other people tell me that too. Brother, we're up against a break, and I want to get to two other points real quick.
See you, bud.
Later, brother. That was awesome. Look, You know what? This has been a complete removal of the base in America. Not the base on the left or the right, but the moral fabric that held everybody together, that held the left and the right together, that allowed us to have civil conversations with people that we disagree with. The moral base has been completely shattered and destroyed in America, and you've got politics destroying it, mainstream media destroying it, entertainment destroying it, you've got the church destroying it, you've got other religions destroying it. Nothing is wrong anymore. You can't tell anybody that they're wrong anymore. If you do, they get offended. I don't have the video pulled up right here, but there was a teacher who she praised a student and embarrassed the student. The student went home and told mom, and the student was removed from class because the teacher embarrassed him for praising him for doing good on a math test. We have completely lost our minds, ladies and gentlemen. We have completely lost our minds. It's weird that in America, our flag and our culture offend so many people, but our benefits don't. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. It is the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. You know, we had a texter text in during the break talking about wanting to know the current price of oil now that, quote unquote, Trump has started the war again. It's not that Islamic terrorists who want to hate America want to just keep the oil cartels running as they were, siphoning off trillions of dollars every year, going to Europe, going to all these places. Andrew, the system worked fine. It doesn't matter that there were people enslaved. It doesn't matter that women were being abused. It doesn't matter that human rights were being violated. We had our cheap oil, darn it. West Texas crude is up to $75.50 a barrel. That's up about $5 from last week. Brent crude oil, $80 a barrel. That's what Europe's paying for it. You know, with everything that's happening in NATO right now, we just need to completely stop subsidizing. We need to completely stop subsidizing the European Union on oil. All of our oil reserves that we've saved up here in America, because we're wise, because we have a base, because we do have wisdom, because we are being intelligent, because we have that, we were able to give that to England and give that to Europe and give that to Spain. Now, well, let's start taking care of the people who take care of us. And again, nobody's trip to the Waffle House has been impeded by this. The only thing that's happened is that people who were making a lot of money off of the skimming of oil, the cartel, they don't get that now. And you know, President Trump is operating from a dangerous place. Let's not get that out of the way either, because he's operating from a place where America was back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where we had a firm foundation, where we had a base, where we did have morals. You know, that's the danger that's happening right now. And it's scary because it's going to get a lot worse. It's not that it could get a lot worse. It's going to get a lot worse. When you can't control 3 and 4-year-olds in kindergarten, when they're encouraged to act the fool, my goodness, we're in a deep, bad, dark place. Look, I didn't even get to finish the YouTube stuff. We're going to finish the YouTube stuff. I've got a lot more of these sayings that your country might be ungodly, and I want to walk through them. And I want to continue to ask those questions, because if we don't ask these questions now, it's like going through the hard stuff in life. If you don't go through it early in life, you're going to go through it later in life. And it's a lot easier if you correct the problem early than it is late. It's like weeds in the field. You got weeds, you got to go pull them up. Don't spray them. You want to pull them up. You want to get the roots out of there early. You don't want that thing to go deeper and deeper, suck out more nutrients out of the soil. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. We're at the top of the hour break. We're going to be back in about 7.5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we are back for hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB, where we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. No one really cares about Facebook. And we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 103.9 WYAB, like, share, and subscribe to the stream. Help us grow the station. Help us grow the channel. We'd appreciate that. Look, wisdom is justified by all her deeds, and I'm joined in the studio by Todd Sandrich. Todd, how you doing?
Great. Good to be here, Andrew.
Todd, we were talking about the importance of having a superior foundation. We wanted to make sure that you had a good base and you were having that good ground to build upon. How have you been, my friend?
Man, I've been great. We got everything here in central Mississippi except the good ground to build on.
I'll tell you what, we were talking about during the break on my farm. All that rain, our 1940 house has settled a little bit, and we're deciding what to do with it.
And it's been a bit, kind of weather hysteria lately, Andrew. We had 5 or 6 months of no rain, and
Drought.
I mean zero drought. Yes, and then we had torrential 2-inch downpours for about a month, and then now it's just been kind of off and on. It really is messing, with stuff. And to your point, the Bible says don't build your house on sand. Well, we're not in sand, but we're in weathered clay, and weathered clay honestly is worse than sand because I've done both. I've built on both.
I moved from Illinois to here, so I'm not familiar with the weathered clay. I know Oklahoma has got red clay.
That's right.
And I built a house there. But what's the challenges that you deal with the soil here?
So the interesting part is, Andrew, and there's a couple of markets, and I've told people this, and I'm certainly not a geologist by any means, but I've studied this, and in Dallas, kind of Fort Worth area, they've got real weathered clay and no bedrock. St. Louis, Missouri area, kind of that entire metropolitan area, same way. So we're a little bit unique. And what's interesting is again, you can drive 3 hours south and hit sandy soil. You can drive 3 hours east and into Birmingham and have bedrock 2 or 3 feet down. So what we don't have any bedrock. Our load-bearing strata, what we call it in our business, is a blue clay, right? And that is a non-weathered clay. So a weathered clay is something that reacts to water or no water. And that means, when there's too much water, it swells, and that'll cause a house or a building to heave. And then when there's not enough water and there's a drought like we've had, prior to this big rainy season we've had, then everything shrinks. Well, that's what typically is what you're seeing affecting most foundations is when that clay shrinks, that heavy house, that heavy slab or conventional foundation will fall with it.
See, that's something that I just learned, the heaving and the shrinking.
Yeah.
And I think about just on my barn, for instance, and that's something too that we've never really talked about. Absolutely. Is, it's not just your house, it's your barn.
Yeah. I mean, even if you got a pole barn, right? Yep. So some of these pole barns, they'll put them in, and I don't know how deep they go these days, 4 feet maybe with concrete on a pole. Doesn't matter. You're sitting in weathered clay, and that can fall. And you've probably seen that in your barn too.
I've seen it to where, thank goodness, not my barn, but I've seen farmers who have had their barns collapse on them, and they got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of tractor and farm equipment in there, and now all of a sudden, you're kicking yourself in the pants because you didn't go out there and get that looked at. And it's an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure, Todd.
It's huge. You're right, Andrew. We went to I got a call in Terry, Mississippi, just south of Byram, and this guy, he couldn't even open. He had a big sliding barn door, and that's where he kept all of his tractors and side by side and all that stuff. He couldn't get it open because it had shifted in one side, so the door wouldn't open. Which ultimately we had to take the door off. We lifted it up, and then we put the door back on.
Oh my goodness!
And but even in a home or an office, even right here in the WYAB studio, I mean, you can have shifting and doors don't open and shut. You got to readjust, and at some point, you stop readjusting doors and you start adjusting the foundation. I think also too, people got to look at is the humidity that we have here in Mississippi.
Oh, it's god awful.
It's bad. I was in a house 2 days ago. Underneath the house, it was a conventional foundation.
Yep.
It just sweating so terribly bad. You could smell the kind of musty mold. A lot of people know that, kind of your grandma's house smell back in the days. Well, if you're not getting that humidity out, and what I noticed, Andrew, as I walked around the house, is there was no vents. Everybody wonders on the conventional foundation, what do those vents do? And that's pulling air through. That's keeping, you want to keep out that stale moisture, that you know,
Mhm.
that stale humidity out. They weren't doing that. So, you know, in essence, and we can go solve that problem for them. We can pull that
Mhm.
air. We can use dehumidifiers. We can do dehumidifying fans. We can encapsulate it. We can do all those things. But at the end of the day, you know, you don't think about it till you have a problem. You know, and you and I have talked about this.
Yep.
People, if they would just look at it and go, hey, you know, come out, evaluate what I got. Let me look at my drainage,
Yep.
right? Because it all boils down to drainage. Are you getting the water away from the house?
Yep.
And you can solve a lot of problems up until we've done a couple this week that were into the $30,000-$40,000 jobs, and you don't want to get to that point. You
Mm-mm.
know, our favorite job is 3 or 4 piers. We can prop up a corner, put a little drain in, and move on. Because I know that you know that's
Yep.
good for them, and we're going to prevent a whole lot of problems later.
What's interesting, and you said you were in Terry, and that's where I live. Over the past 3 or 4 years, when it rains really hard, I've got a river going through my backyard between my pole barn and my house.
Yes.
And I'm not wondering if that's not something that we do need to address, even if we decide not to build the Taj Mahal at the BA farm. We'll see what happens.
You know, it's not a bad idea always to direct water, and you can do a lot of things if it's not, you know, significantly affecting, say, a structure.
Yep.
You can always dig a swell, and I mean a big one. You can take a track hoe, or you can take a bulldozer, or even a box blade, and you can grade down. You can put up berms, things like that, to redirect water, get it away. But the key is, and what I think, you know, people just miss so much is, and you see all these big houses popping up in Madison. I'm sure you and your
Yep.
wife are driving by, and you're like, man, they're missing one thing, Andrew, and that is a drain. Like in my house, I have a U-shaped drain the entire way around it. I have every downspout in it. I make sure every bit of storm water goes in it. Second is pools. People, they build these expensive pools. Now pools are costing $150,000-$200,000 for a
My
gunite pool.
goodness.
Now think about that. They're not putting drains under those. So if you go out in your yard right now in the flattest part and you dig a hole, guess what's going to happen in 2 days?
It's going to pool.
Yeah, there's going to be water in it, right? Because water goes to the lowest point.
Yep.
So you go dig a swimming pool, right? And then you put gunite in it, or a liner, doesn't matter. You're digging the lowest point. And if you're not going to drain that water out, what's going to happen is that gunite pool moves, and I see it all the time. And we've had to tunnel under there and put well points and drains and things like that under there,
under a
pool, yeah, and to get it to sit down. And even if you can't gravity feed it, you can put make sure you put a pump in it. But all of those things, man, we sit down in our office all the time on pre-planning. And if
Mhm.
you're smart, if you're going to build something like a house or a building or a pool, come sit down with us and we can get a drainage plan too, because you want to avoid calling Superior Foundation Services later to pick your house or building up.
Yep.
Do some drainage up front. Make sure you have a good plan.
If people want to find you, where can they find you,
So
brother?
they can find us on the web. It's superior.ms.
Mhm.
They can call our office, 601-941-2125. We're always available to take calls. We have we give complimentary estimates, right?
Yep.
So if you call us, if you're in the Hines, Rankin, Madison area, if you're outside of that area, we do charge a little bit, but it's not very much. To come out, let's take a look at it. We'll look at your drainage. We'll shoot elevations, see where you are, and we can kind of tackle that problem.
I think that's one thing is, as a retired highway commissioner and shooting elevations and doing the drainage on roads and everything, if you're going to buy a house or if you're looking to build a house, it's great to go ahead and contact somebody like you.
Absolutely.
Because this way you're going to have your builder understand what's going on. You're going to have an architect, and your contractors are going to have the lay of the land. They're going to know what they want to build. But to have an expert in the drainage, because the drainage is something that you're not going to notice the first year, the second year, the third year, but all of a sudden just seems to be the magical year of 4 years. That's when everything starts going downhill. And now all of a sudden you've got a brand new house, or you've just bought a house and you didn't realize what you were going to run into, and you're going to have problems.
I mean, it happens all the time. Probably your time as a highway commissioner, how many times you went, oh gosh, that was engineered wrong, or those grades weren't right.
You
things
can just
like that.
see it, dude.
So you go back to our original discussion when we started, was the expansive soil. If you were a highway commissioner here, what you have to do, Andrew, is you have to go in and you test every bit of that soil. And if there's weather clay, they're requiring now, as a developer, even in a neighborhood and or on the highways, you got to undercut that 4 feet. The reason is because of the expansive clay. So it's no different if they're doing it now on roads and highways. Everybody knows it, right? Then you've got to make sure. And a builder can say, "Oh, well, we tested the soil and things like that," and they do. Those guys, they're good. They do their due diligence. The problem is they're not accounting for the water. So our good dirt is not good, and that's weird, but it's not.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've got almost 30 acres of solid pasture on my property, and some of it is actually black dirt because of over time with the grass feeding the sheep and everything like that, and the chickens going behind it, the worms and everything. We've actually built black soil. It's gorgeous. It's
They
beautiful.
call that regenerative farming, right?
Absolutely. That's what we do at the BA farm.
Yeah.
And but you go down a little bit more than that, it maybe 6-7 inches. It's red clay. It's clay down there, and you're going to sit there and realize that over time. I even see it even on my pastures. The undulations,
You can.
they shift all the time, and it's just shocking to me when the biggest investment they say people make in their life is their home.
That's right.
Why are you not going to have that done?
I get so many calls. I bet you've seen this too in your pasture land when, especially like when the sheep, they kind of, beat the grass down.
Yep.
In the drought that we had, you can see cracks in it.
Yes.
Right. I get calls all the time. People go, "Oh my gosh, come out here and take a look at my house." And there's huge cracks away from the brick or the foundation of the brick ledge. Right. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, is it moving?" And I can shoot a level. It's not moving. But what's happened is they've packed weather clay around that house. So when we get a drought, it just kind of shrinks away. Same thing in your pasture or what have you. Well, think about that's what you're putting a structure on.
Wow.
So you got to make sure there's consistency in water and not too much, not enough. You've got to make sure that your foundation's right. We put a lot of helical piers which are driven down, using a drive head off of PTO off hydraulics, right? And we drive them down. We put them about every 15 feet inside footings, things like that for new structures. And that's a surefire way to guarantee that you're not going to fall in a drought.
I'll tell you what the one thing that you don't want, and I'm not sure if you've ever, I'm sure you've actually have experienced this, is when a house shifts so much where the doors are having a hard time opening, and the telltale sign is on your shower when you go to turn the water and that knob starts getting harder and harder to turn. That means you need to call Brother Todd.
That's it.
Because you are just playing with fire at that point.
So, the doors and that don't open and shut are extremely, it's just inconvenient, right? It just stinks. But what really stinks is if your house is falling, your sewer pipes underneath start messing up.
Yep.
And a lot of times that could be the cause too. You've got a sewer leak, and that water, consistent source of water, again, is making it heave or making it, sit down. But at the end of the day, yes, all those inconveniences. But if you call early, if you and I can't stress this enough, we do a lot of big jobs, but honestly, I told you off air, I'd rather do the small jobs.
Yep.
I'd rather you call me and you got a corner falling, we can pick it up, take the stress off the rest of the house. Let's fix your drainage plan. Let's make sure no other part of the house gets it. Because when you got to lift the whole house, and we do a bunch, it's not cheap. So,
Todd, I'm going to have to give you a call, because if we don't want to build a new home, we would definitely want to shore this up. And tell the people again where they can find you, brother.
Yeah, call us at 601-941-2125, or you can find us on the web at superior.ms.
That's superior.ms, people. Todd, we really appreciate you coming into the studio today. It was great talking to you, and we'll have to do it again. We'll have
As
to do
always,
it again.
appreciate you.
Yep. That was Todd Sandrich, everybody of Superior Foundation. This is the Andrew Gossett Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Moving and grooving on the Andrew Gosser Show. 601-879-0002 is the number if you want to go ahead and give a call. I always appreciate Todd coming into the studio, and especially when it fits right into what we're talking about, that foundation, that base, biblical principle. It just lines right up. And like I said, you know, if we're not sure of whether or not we're going to build a new one or just keep what we got, but we're going to have Todd come out and we'll have a personal testimonial one way or the other of what happens probably in the next month. Now, we got sidetracked in the last hour with the YouTube thing, and I do want to finish that. And then I want to get into these other impacts of your country might be run by idiots. But we were talking about privileged position to the traditional broadcasters. Privileged position in the United States. We had that happen too, remember? When CNN and MSNBC, ABC, CBS, ABC, they all had privileged position. Check your privilege. How many times have we heard that? Check your privilege. Some people need to check their privilege, but it ain't on the right. It's these leftist views that are being forced upon it. And I look at it genetically like a farmer. I'm not going to breed for obscurities or mutations or something that's not common. You know, I'm watching this guy on YouTube right now, Jacob Knowles. He's a lobster farmer out of Maine. And every once in a while, they'll catch a golden lobster in Maine. 1 in 30 million chance. Well, there's probably the reason that it's so rare is because it's probably got a mutation that's not good. So you don't breed for it. Like in my sheep, I don't breed for mutations, to things that are not good. There are things that pop out in any in any breeding program. You're going to have something that, hey, I don't like that. What's that you doing? Maybe she needs to go to the freezer camp. That ram didn't do what we expected it to do. It needs to go to freezer camp. It seems like we're promoting these mutations and these genetics that are not good for humanity. Mandating prominence to traditional institutions will impact all other independent digital creators, production companies, and media COS. I don't know what that is. That's some European term, including your content downranked, reducing your exposure to diverse content and independent creators. You know what? This Nick Shirley would never happen in the UK. Clay Edwards would never happen in the UK. Andrew Gosser would never happen in the UK. Libs of TikTok would never happen in the UK. It is the Libs of TikTok, but it is Tic-Tac. If you know, you know. Threat to reach and channel growth and undermining the creator-audience bond. I'll tell you what, with YouTube, they are influencing and undermining the creator-audience bond. They're doing that in the United States as well. Don't make you think like this is something that's only happening in the UK. It's not. You know that the YouTube creator agreement, it says that YouTube is allowed to go ahead and use your videos to train their AI. And so if you notice, and I'd like to hear about some of this, if you do use YouTube for a resource, which I do, whether it be political resource, farming resource, fishing resource, and then for my entertainment purposes, my sports, and a little bit of train content too. I'm getting more and more AI recommendations, and it's harder to tell the AI content. It was incredible to me that there is AI World Cup content, and it's costing Google or whoever the AI company is pennies, when Fox, which is hosting the World Cup, Telemundo, which is hosting the World Cup, and whoever it is over in Europe, Asia, around the world, it's costing them millions and millions of dollars to produce this content. And the AI company comes in, steals it all, and produces it for pennies on the thousands. Not pennies on the dollar, pennies on the thousands. we have to sit there and we have to honestly look at what this is. And getting back to the data centers and everything, data centers are nothing more than a bridge. You know how the 747 that Qatar gave the president of the United States in the United States of America, they call that the bridge, Air Force One. Data centers are nothing more than a bridge to quantum computing. I'm telling you that right now. One quantum computer is going to outperform all the data centers put on Earth when they finally figure that out. Getting back to that CERN research and whatnot. But that gets back to a country run by idiots and ungodly people. School permissions, field trips, and aspirin. If a child needs a parent's signature for a field trip or ibuprofen at school, but can get an abortion or birth control without parental knowledge, you got a country that's run by idiots and the ungodly. Listen to this. If a school calls home over a scraped knee but hides a student's gender transition and new pronouns from mom and dad, you got a country that's run by idiots and ungodly. If parental consent is required for a minor's ear piercing, but not for a chemical abortion, you got a country run by idiots. Am I wrong? This is and I can hear my liberal listeners out there. You're in your seat shifting right now, but you're listening because it's true. But it's not only on the left; it's on the right too. We'll get there. If parents must approve a sports physical, but activists help minors get cross-sex hormones behind their backs, you've got a country run by idiots. That's what's always got me with this transgender hot garbage. You've got a dude who thinks he's a girl but claims he's a lesbian. Number one, you are lacking intelligence and wisdom right there. We see the game. But if you ever got in a serious car accident, right? And you're a dude who identifies as a woman, how is that doctor supposed to treat you? Is he supposed to treat you biologically or psychologically? This is a psychological problem, in my opinion. The doctor is going to come in and say, okay, this is a guy. He's wearing a dress. What the heck's going on here? This is a woman. Is she pregnant? I'm sorry, but guys are different from girls. And women are beautifully made. There's nothing wrong with being a woman. And this was something that came up to me in an indirect way, the source of which must remain classified. But it was told to me by someone who recently experienced this, and my memory is a little bit foggy in the whole thing, but puberty does suck for men and for women and in different ways. So for young adults, young kids who are transitioning from being a kid to being an adult, you've got to sit there and understand that it's not medication that they need. They need sound guidance and wisdom. It's crazy. Blue Sim is checking in here on the chat. I want to promote this here. If you're getting more and more AI recommendations on YouTube, it's because you or someone on your account is watching AI videos. I've had YouTube channel since 2009 and still over and over get AI suggestions. Yep. You accidentally click so just as an example, the Sweet Bee and I, we watch a lot of biblical content. The amount of biblical AI content out there is overwhelming. So if you don't have the name of a pastor you want or a name of a church you want or a specific school, and you get a channel like Christ-like Fellowship, you click on that AI one time and boom, you're cooked. You are in the system, and it'll know what you're looking for too. I've had that happen with me, not only with educational content, biblical content, spiritual content, but arsenal content, train content, fishing content, sheep content. You know that there's AI sheep farmers out there? And again, people make fun of me because I say we can't tell what's real and what's AI anymore. It's harder and harder to have these ways to detect whether it's AI or not. We almost need a congressional law that says this is an AI channel. That the person talking is AI. That's what I really want. The person talking is AI. You know, there are tools out there that I could use for my channel, for my videos, for my radio program that are AI enhanced. Should those be flagged? Oh, Blue Sim saying he rarely gets AI suggestions because I actively avoid it. I'd try to actively avoid it too, dude. And I'm the only one with access to my YouTube account. I don't even think the Sweet Bee has access to that. I guess you should pop on and log in because I do have the password saved. But yeah, the AI stuff is just out of control. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. This is 103.9 WYAB, where we are not AI controlled, and we will be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. I'm just going through some of these ideas that the good pastor brought up. And these are not biblical principles. These are just wisdom ideas. These are just ideas that have common sense. And unfortunately, most of the people listening above the age of 25 and up, this makes common sense to you. But to our kids, you are speaking a foreign language. You might not even be speaking a foreign language. You might be speaking an alien language. Listen to this. If you need a photo ID to fly on a plane or cash a check, but not to vote in an election, you've got a country run by idiots and the ungodly. If a library requires an ID to check out a book, but some states can allow same-day registration with zero verification, you've got a country run by idiots and the ungodly. Where's this wrong? Where is this wrong? If you've got a third world country that can count 29 million votes in a day, but a state like California can't count its votes in a week, you've got a state that's run by idiots, morons, and ungodly people. I just sit there and I think about this, and it's tough. Well, it's not tough to us, but if you are seriously questioning yourself after hearing some of this, that's good. It's good. If you must show ID to buy cold medicine or enter a bar, but voting almost has zero ID requirements in many places, you've got a country run by idiots, morons, and the ungodly. Save America Act. Great unknown texter. Thank you for pointing that out. How is it that Republicans are against the Save America Act when we've got these things? I might actually have to figure out how to get it up and running and make some John Thune memes using some of these things. If TSA checks your ID and boarding passes, but poll workers can't ask for ID in certain states, you've got a country run by idiots, morons, and ungodly. Think about this. Your right to travel interstate. You can't board an airplane without a smart ID. But you're going to have the right to vote? Morons. And look, this is not the Democrats that I'm calling moronic here, although I disagree with them. My goodness gracious. Oh, I never did talk about my trip to Milwaukee where my car rental experience, where I wanted to call in a JDAM into the rental car office. I had to provide ID, credit card, birth sample, DNA sample, hair follicle sample, blood sample. It was absolutely horrible to rent a car. And it wasn't just me that was having the problem. To rent a car, it's a pain in the neck. And I see why people pay the $50 express service fee. I'll tell you what, if we ever rent a car like that again, we are getting the express fee for sure. Budget rent a car, Avis rent a car in Milwaukee, it is worth your money to pay that express fee and not have the 30 minutes of pain. I almost said a bad word. Almost had to use the dump button, Matt. The amount of pain that it caused. And now let's get away with this. And I did have a person want me to talk about Trump wanting to sell the F-35 to Turkey and what I think about it. First of all, it's no longer Turkey, it's Turkey A. I don't know why they changed it, don't care. Turkey's been more of an ally than Spain, as an example. Now, there is a law in place that Trump is not going to be able to sell the F-35 to Turkey or Turkey A because of a law that he put into place, that Trump put into place, saying you can't sell a F-35 to a country that has Russian missile defense. They've got something called the S-400, and it is a very capable system. And you don't want to have a country that has the S-400s with carbon copies of F-35s there so they can figure out how to detect the F-35. And I wouldn't want to sell the F-35 to Turkey because I don't want them to get the systems that are on there. The systems that you publicly know about is one thing. The systems that you don't know about are another. Now, Turkey really wants the F-35 for two reasons. One is they want access to all those new systems, beeps and squeaks. But they also want the engine technology because they've built their own poor man F-22. But the motors that are on the F-22 or on the Turkey F-22 are hot garbage and can't provide the power needed for the type of performance they want, and it can't produce the electrical power needed for the radar systems that they want to employ. So I think there's a compromise here. President Trump, me being a man of the people, compromise is always in the front of my mind. Gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word incites anger. Give them some engine technology to where they could get a little bit more thrust out of that. Give them the F-15EX engine, which is just an upgraded F-14D engine back in the day. It's based off the GE 110. And I think it's like the 129 variant now. I think the F-14 was the GE 110-20s. They're awesome engines, and they can produce a lot of power. Turkey would be happy with that. You reward an ally for behaving nicely, and you don't have to give away the F-35. But unknown texter, make no mistake about it. We've transported the F-35 to a bunch of countries who say they are our allies but hate our guts. I look at the UK, and I know that the men and women who are in the UK military appreciate everything that America does for them, and they can't stand their politicians. But look, those politicians get embedded in the military too. And don't think for 1 minute that UK hasn't flown military missions. You think that, remember that UK F-35 that had that air in India for 2 weeks? Do you think that was by design? If you think that was a premier state-of-the-art F-35 breaking down conveniently in India for 2 weeks, where the pilot, he had to stand guard over it at the airplane himself, you don't think that there weren't high pixelated pictures taken of that aircraft? All the little bumps and mods on that F-35? And that's just the stuff we know about. So please don't think that I'm forgiving the F-35 to Turkey because I'm not. But we can have a compromise and give them some engines. And if they want to build their own 5th generation, that's okay because we're already on our 7th, 8th, and 9th generation airplanes. We just don't know about it yet. I've got a few more of these to talk about. Taking gun rights away while arming our enemies. If politicians trying to confiscate our guns from law-abiding citizens while sending billions in weapons to foreign countries like the Ukraine, you got a country run by idiots, morons, and ungodly people. If the government punishes gun control after every shooting but floods the Ukraine and other nations with American arms, you've got a country that's ran by idiots, morons, and ungodly people and the deep military state. This one gets me. If veterans face extra hurdles to own firearms, but enemy groups receive U.S. supplied missiles and ammunition, you got a country run by idiots, morons, and ungodly people. I know that personally. I am the things that some vets have to go through to buy a firearm. You shouldn't have to go through. Well, you got to worry about their mental stability. Yeah, tell that to the shooter who shot Charlie Kirk or shot up the church in Minneapolis, or the trans that shot up the school in Tennessee. You know, I do have a video of a military guy, though. Let's listen to this military guy. This is a real retired military guy running for Congress, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is something that we cannot tolerate. This is the United States of America. We are losing more and more rights every single day. And the only way we get rights back is for fighting for them. That's it. Bleeding for them, dying for them.
Yep. That is Democrat nominee for Congress in North Carolina 9, Richland Ojeda, calls for violence uprising against the Trump administration. That's what libs of TikTok are saying and reporting, and that's what that guy's saying. He's been a Democratic elected official in West Virginia. So my question is why is West Virginia deporting their Democrats to North Carolina? Why can't North Carolina Democrats have a North Carolina Democrat run for a North Carolina congressman spot, North Carolina 9? Makes me wonder. It's also the reason I'd never run for Mississippi, because while I've lived here a long time and Mississippi's my home, just not from here. It's just not for me. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Be right back. Hey, well, I got you all here just a sec. I want to say thank you to everybody who's tuned into the live stream. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the support for Todd Sandrich and SuperiorFoundations.ms. Um, it means a lot when we have good interviews like that and get positive feedback on it. Negative feedback too, but the positive stuff is always great. And I appreciate everybody in the chat. I really do. Thank you so much. We're going to roll it on out of here. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. I say it a lot, I say it often, and it's so true. The time flies when you're having fun here on the Andrew Gosser Show. I mean, the 2 hours just moves and grooves, and I still got so much stuff to get to. And I try to keep over some of the really important stuff, like primaryjohnthune.org is still available. They're even offering it for free. And I try to stay up to current events with stuff that's going on. You know, the air conditioning stuff in New York, where they're actually having blackouts in America's city now. Graham Plattner trying to figure out how he's going to get out of the Maine senatorial race because he's losing to a Republican who's normally always trailing, but yet she's won every race since 1996, I want to say. She's been there a while, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, Susan Collins. Her old running mate, Olympia Snow, ended up losing. I don't understand what happened there. But it was a great show today, and I really like bringing in wisdom principles that align with me personally and also spiritually. And getting the feedback from some of these texts here, you obviously like it too. And these are things we can put in our clip. And I'll try to make a document and post some of these on X. Please follow me on X. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. You can follow me on YouTube, Rumble, X. I'm still locked out of my Facebook account, although it allows Restream to post the stream there. Don't understand what's happening with that. Little bit of local news I had today. Losing a Chick-fil-A in Jackson. Jackson is going to lose a Chick-fil-A, and that's a big moneymaker right there. Any business is a big moneymaker. We're always grateful for all the businesses that provide to the tax base of any city, whether it be Jackson, Ridgeland, Terry. Chick-fil-A will close the East County Line Road store in Jackson and move down the street into the site at the old Logan's Roadhouse in Ridgeland, Mississippi. Ridgeland's going to get a nice bump in their tax base. Jackson's just losing another one. This is coming from Kingfish, by the way, Jackson Jambalaya. Kingfish note, another nail in the Ridgewood Court Shopping Center. Perhaps the landlord should have done something about the numerous potholes turning into craters. I don't know about that, brother Kingfish, but I do know that Jackson's got serious problems. And if they don't do something about it quick, they're going to have even more problems because businesses are going to find it harder and harder to come back. Look, we'll do it all again. Until next time, everybody, take care, be blessed. Yes, and amen.